Welcome into the Wiltfong Whip Around with Steve Wiltfong. We are live. Today is Wednesday, November 26th, and I am your host, Josh Newberg. We have made it to the final weekend of the season. It's a little bit sad, but it's also the final week of recruiting because the season is here. We made it to Thanksgiving as well, which leads me to a question. Are you a Thanksgiving Day Eve partier, or are you amongst those that do the turkey trot with their families on Thanksgiving morning? Because you can't be both. You're one or the other. You're either partying on the eve or you're turkey trotting on the day. I want to know. Also, we are entering a prime stretch on the recruiting trail. We got a lot of new developments, some potential flips, and we are going to talk about it all today with the great Steve Wiltfong. But you guys, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on YouTube. Also, join Rivals today. Get 1 full year of The Athletic, plus all the On3 national and fan site content as well. And I'll put a link in the description of this video. All right, let's bring in Steve Wiltfong and start with one of the biggest rivalry games of the weekend. The game, Michigan-Ohio State. And this year it means something because a playoff spot is on the line for the Wolverines, and that streak is alive and well for the Buckeyes. So, Steve, who are the headliners that are going to be in Ann Arbor this weekend?
Yeah, as Michigan works towards winning in this game 5 years in a row, Josh, there are people out there that are actually looking to party on Wednesday night and then run in a turkey trot or play in a turkey bowl on Thursday morning. And I wish everybody good health in their runs or their turkey bowl across the land. I look forward to playing in a turkey bowl myself. My kids are involved, other friends and their kids. It's a good time. And
are you the all-time quarterback?
Well, everything gets mixed around and moved around, but the kids are getting to an age now where not everybody's going to get in the end zone. You know, a few years ago when we were playing this game, a touchdown was dialed up for every child. That is not going to be the case this year. This will be our most competitive turkey bowl yet, and I'm ready to take it out on some 4th and 5th graders on the field myself.
I love it.
Some pent-up aggression. Michigan looking to take it out on Ohio State for a 5th time in a row and do it in front of some blue chip recruits and some coveted guys. They have a couple of targets perhaps in 2026, and then certainly a lot of 2027s and 2028s that are going to be inside the big house for the biggest rivalry game in college football. Let's start with the 2026s, Josh. One prospect that's definitely going to be there, Virginia Tech offensive line commit Adrian Hamilton out of Washington, D.C., St. John's High. He's trending to Michigan coming into the visit. He is committed to Virginia Tech. New Hokies coach James Franklin and his staff are doing what they can to try and keep him in the fold. But Michigan's been on the gas for him for a while. They're bringing him in on an official visit this weekend, and all signs point to, if this visit goes well and he feels comfortable around the Michigan players and staff, he will ultimately be in the fold. So Michigan, they have a top 12 class right now, trying to push back towards the top 10 for a second straight year. Adrian Hamilton would be a help. Now, they're trying to get blue chip corner Haven Finney Jr. Back to Michigan this weekend. They have never stopped recruiting the LSU commit. Sharon Moore has been leading the charge in that process. Obviously, the door opened with Brian Kelly being let go in the middle of the season and some uncertainty around the LSU program. Talking to his dad this week, he says they'll have a decision by Wednesday, which is, you're watching this on Wednesday, but we're recording on Tuesday. They'll have a decision on Wednesday on if he'll visit Michigan this weekend. They want to see things work out at LSU. They're excited to see who LSU is going to hire, maybe where Corey Raymond fits in, the direction of the program. There's a lot of things that they love about LSU outside of the football program. So he's hoping it still works out with the Tigers. But Michigan is the program they're keeping warm. They like Coach Moore, the history, the track record, the NFL-style defense under Coach Wink Martindale. We'll see if he shows up at Michigan this weekend. Most of Michigan's 2026 class will be there, Josh, with the exception of linebacker Markel Dabney, who's got his own game to play, Savion Hyder, Julian Walker, Carter Meadows, some of the big names. Big visit for Julian Walker this weekend at Michigan because he's been to South Carolina a bunch this fall. Yeah. His dad's in the strength staff for the Gamecocks. Early in the year, looked like South Carolina had a great shot to flip them. They're still battling. I think on the Michigan side, Julian Walker has been positive with Coach Moore and the coaching staff about his status with the class. He's bringing his mom. She's never been to Michigan. So a big visit for her, for the Michigan staff to continue to impress Julian Walker and his family and keep him in the fold. He was a big riser in the recent Rivals 300 rankings. He's one of the most physically imposing defensive ends in the country. He has all the traits to hear his name called early in the NFL draft. Michigan certainly has a recent track record with defensive ends with the likes of Aiden Hutchinson, Kwity Paye, to name a few, and Julian Walker, Carter Meadows. Those are the next two that they want to develop into first-round picks. They got to seal the deal with Julian Walker this weekend.
Yeah, going to be fun. Is Julian Walker really the only prospect Michigan fans need to kind of keep an eye on? I know there's going to be flips into the class, but in terms of other teams trying to poach from Michigan, would you say Julian Walker is the guy to watch?
Certainly the most prominent. I haven't heard any buzz about any of the other Michigan commits right now.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about a 2027 headliner on campus, Mon-Shun Sales, out of your home state of Indiana. He's expected to be there. Michigan, where would you put Michigan in this recruitment? Is this just kind of a beginning to his recruitment to Michigan, or are they in there?
I would put Michigan closer to the front of the pack. They have been the leader in this recruitment before. I have them behind Alabama right now.
Oh, wow.
Ohio State. I have them behind Ohio State right now. They're running in that group right behind Alabama and Ohio State, rubbing elbows with the likes of Notre Dame, Miami, Texas A&M.
Indiana?
Or Indiana, of course, the Hoosiers. And so Mon-Shun Sales has several schools in the mix. He's going to go visit Tennessee in the winter. He talked about Ole Miss. We'll see what happens with Coach Kiffin and company. More on Coach later in the show. Mon-Shun Sales got a lot of schools that he's high on, but Michigan has been one that has been his leader. This will be his second visit there this fall. He went to a game last year, so he's very familiar with Ann Arbor, Coach Ron Bellamy, Coach Sharon Moore. Last time he visited, which was for that doubleheader where he hit a noon Michigan game and a night Notre Dame game, he talked about Michigan having the quarterback, Bryce Underwood, in the program. Now they need weapons for him to go out there and make plays. By the time Mon-Shun Sales would get to Michigan, Bryce Underwood's a junior, hopefully trending towards being the number one pick in the NFL draft and maybe winning the Heisman Trophy along the way. So Mon-Shun Sales high on Michigan, going to be back up there this weekend. So big opportunity for the Wolverines with him. A couple other elite receivers, Josh. Jaden Upshaw, top 100 player from Lee County. And then, of course, the number one player in the state, Dakota Garant out of Harper Woods. I'd probably give Oregon the edge right now for Dakota Garant, but he's got a lot of love for Michigan. So those three prominent visitors at Michigan this weekend, kind of headlining a great group of 2027s. The best football week of the entire year. Thanksgiving is upon us. The NFL is playing some of their biggest games on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And it is rivalry week, the last week of the college football season. And your favorite team is pushing towards the postseason with big things on the line. And you want to be there. And tickets are not going to be easy to find. And getting deals on last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there for the moment your team runs out on the field. Well, thankfully, the GameTime app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experiences, and it only takes a few simple clicks. The app is easy to use, and the GameTime guarantee means that you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. And you can even get NFL games for as low as $100. And that's why I use the GameTime app. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. So here's what we're going to do. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the word WILTFONG, WILTFONG, for $20 off your first purchase. That's WILTFONG, WILTFONG, for $20 off. Terms apply. GameTime, last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Sounds like a lot of playmakers on campus. We talked wideouts. Who else is going to be there?
Well, tight ends, man, that's a prominent position in Michigan's offense year in and year out. Jack Brown, Anthony Cartwright III, Those are two guys that I think Michigan's at the top or near the top for both of those guys. Brooks Backo, Cooper Terwilliger, Jax DeJean, Drew Kessel, other tight ends coming this weekend that hold an offer for Michigan. Offensive line, Michigan's already got a couple committed in 2027. Sharon Moore, anytime, each recruiting class, the offensive line, the beef up front is going to be a priority to maintain the standard of play in this program. Elijah Hutchinson's the headliner. He's the Rivals 300's number 4 offensive tackle, number 15 player overall. Jakari Lipsey from Kalamazoo, Michigan. He's our number 10 offensive tackle in the country. He's a major headliner this weekend. Michigan's trying to get 5-star Maxwell Hiller on campus this weekend. They're high on Mason Holloman from Illinois. Flipping things over to defense, where Carter Kitchen is the number 2 prospect in the state and edge rusher. I recently predicted him to Michigan. He'll be on campus. Marcus Fakatu, recently reclassifying from 2028 to 2027, number 2 defensive lineman in the country. Notre Dame's the prediction right now, but anytime someone's strongly considering Notre Dame, they're going to like Michigan a lot too. A lot of similarities between the two programs, the history, the pomp and circumstance. Michigan probably a front runner for him as well. I like where Michigan stands with linebacker Blake Benton from Minnesota. I think he's a major target. Brayton Feaster from Ohio, 4-star, taking his second visit to Michigan this weekend. So those are some of the names to know. Donald Tabarin, Detroit quarterback, 2028 headliner this weekend. For more, just head to the Rivals Michigan sites to get caught up to speed on what's expected this weekend for Michigan.
All right, Michigan fans, let's get your predictions on this Ohio State rivalry game. Give us your score predictions. Also, what position do you play in your local Turkey Bowl? Are you an all-time quarterback? Are you an enforcer at linebacker? Are you a playmaker at wide receiver? We want to know. Put your Turkey Bowl position in the comment section below. 3, 2, 1. Let's go to Knoxville and talk Tennessee recruiting, because the number 20 Volunteers take on the number 14 ranked Vanderbilt Commodores, and Tennessee currently sitting with the number 8 ranked class in America. Steve, they're looking to put some final touches on this 2026 class.
Yeah, the Vols are in the mix for quite a few targets down the stretch of this 2026 cycle. They're hosting some guys committed elsewhere this weekend. They're working on some flip targets that visited earlier in the season down the stretch. So Josh Heupel and his program will be fun to follow over the next week of this process. And a win over Vanderbilt on Saturday could go a long way in helping close some of these recruitments. Recruiting's a game of inches. To have that momentum going into the postseason, knocking off in-state rival Vanderbilt would be massive. They're going to play this game in front of some key targets. Carter Gooden, Rivals 300, 4-star defensive lineman out of Tabor Academy in Massachusetts. He's committed to UCLA, was at Vanderbilt last weekend, Tennessee this weekend. So these are two programs prominent in this process. Down the stretch, watched Vanderbilt take Kentucky to the woodshed last weekend. So he's got a chance to watch Vanderbilt play twice in a row. What's Tennessee going to do in this ball game? They're certainly a contender down the stretch. They're a program that we had consistently been hearing with Miami. Miami's not in the picture. Vanderbilt in the picture. So Tennessee has been one of Carter Gooden's schools. Now they got to get it to the finish line. Jalen Thomas is a JUCO defensive lineman that was his conference player of the year out of Mississippi Community College. He's from Memphis powerhouse Whitehaven High. Tennessee's getting him to campus this weekend. Took a recent visit to West Virginia. So we'll see what happens with Tennessee this weekend. The Vols are also bringing in Florida commit Genevieve Carr. He's been committed to the Gators for quite some time. Saw Tennessee win last weekend in Gainesville. Now coming up to Rocky Top, Neyland Stadium to get a weekend with Tennessee. They're obviously the biggest threat to the Gators for Mr. Carr. Guy that Tennessee's kind of been stashing, but they've been recruiting all fall. Rodney Garner tapping into his Rolodex over at Carver High, Peach State powerhouse. They're undefeated. Niquavian Simmons, nickname Big Nuke. He is 6'3", 290 pounds. Carver's 12-0. He's been one of the key pieces on the defense for them. 49 tackles, 29 of them in the backfield, Josh. 6 sacks, 8 more hurries. He's forced 2 fumbles. He's already visited Tennessee once this fall. He's back this weekend on an official visit and an interesting senior riser for Rodney Garner and company to host this weekend. Some guys beyond this weekend that Tennessee's still working on. Edge rusher Jordan Carter, former Texas A&M commit that reopened his process. He has visited Tennessee twice this fall since decommitting from Texas A&M. It looked like they had the momentum, but our colleague Chad Simmons reporting that momentum is back with Georgia Tech following his official visit to the Yellow Jackets campus over the weekend. Jordan Carter might be Tennessee's top overall target still on the board, so it'll be interesting to see how the Vols respond over the next week. Jordan Carter's at Auburn this weekend. Jeremy J.J. Finch, four-star defensive lineman from Indianapolis, Warren Central, committed to Alabama in the summer. Tennessee got him back to campus this weekend. The Vols prioritized him early and recruited him as hard as anybody throughout the process. He loves his fit in Tennessee's defense. I talked to Finch 2 weeks ago when I saw him play on Friday. He said Tennessee's still involved. I talked to a source close to Finch on Tuesday morning who corroborated that Tennessee is still very much in play. So we'll see if they can flip him from Alabama. They're working to flip four-star running back Amari Latimer from Wisconsin. The strongest schools, Tennessee and Miami, with a chance to do that. Maybe he sticks with the Badgers. His brother's starting defensive back for Luke Fickell and company. Coach Fickell got a vote of confidence from the regime. So we'll see what happens. But I know Tennessee is very much at the forefront of this thing down the stretch. They're trying to get massive offensive tackle Jonas Muya from Fort Wayne down in the near future. So that's quite a bit of names for Tennessee. Top 8 class. Maybe not having the season they anticipated. They wanted to be back in the college football playoff for a second straight year. We'll see what a win over Vandy does and what kind of chaos could maybe happen this weekend. But a chance for another good season, a chance for another double-digit win season for Tennessee, and a recruiting class that sets them up for years to come. And they want to add to it over the next week with some of these visitors this weekend and some of these other guys we mentioned visiting this fall as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Tennessee fans, I mean, if all things go right, they flip a couple of these guys, you could maybe push to 7, maybe 6. I don't see a top 5 class being possible, but Tennessee fans, talk to Steve and I. What do you feel about recruiting? How do you feel about the season? Do the recruiting results kind of match up with the season? Talk to us.
Tennessee lose their quarterback in the fashion that they did, plug in Aguilar, and compete at the level they did this season. I'd be proud of this program. We'll see what they do against Vanderbilt, but it shows the resiliency. It's hard. Look, Aguilar's a talented guy, but to just plug a guy in at that position, no chemistry, to go through the BS of Nico Iamaleava wanting more pay, wanting to be in a more pro style, whatever the word. Like, look, dude, you got paid $2 million. You didn't play as a true freshman. Got paid $2 million. You distributed and managed the game, the college football playoff. It was time for an ROI on that, not a RAISE as a junior. But Tennessee, they grinded through that, and now we'll see what happens.
Steve, Oklahoma dialed up a huge recruiting weekend as SEC rival LSU comes to town for the final game of the regular season. And Oklahoma's really been recruiting well. They've been on a bit of a heater when it comes to 2026. Just this week, they flipped a full circle moment. You called it, Steve, on the last show. It's done. Jonathan Hatton Jr. is back with Oklahoma. How'd they get that done? I mean, A&M's having a great year.
Yeah, no question. But so is Oklahoma. And he was committed to Oklahoma at one point. And then obviously there were a lot of people saying Brent Venables is on the hot seat. The Sooners are in trouble. Well, what has Oklahoma done? They're a home game away this Saturday of playing another home game in the college football playoff. They've had a fantastic season, a resurgence, a new offensive coordinator, Coach Arbuckle, a new quarterback, John Mateer. Their losses are with a banged-up Mateer, and Mateer not in the lineup. So wild what it can do when you have a great offensive coordinator and a quarterback that can go out and manage games and play high-level caliber competition in football and win. And so the Oklahoma Sooners were able to bounce back this year, and they were to come back around on that recruitment with Hatton, who wants to be the marquee back in his recruiting class. Texas A&M has KJ Edwards committed. He always loved Oklahoma, Coach Murray, Coach Venables, that program, and he's going to go try and run wild for the Sooners on the next level. Oklahoma waiting for more good news. It may be out there. They may not have won the recruitment, but I think as we record on Tuesday afternoon, it's trending well. You're watching on Wednesday. Dane Bathurst from Carmel High, edge rusher, took his official visit last weekend. He's committing sometime soon. He told me last night he's sleeping on it. They've been wanting to commit over the last day or so. Oklahoma's been having really good dialogue with Dane Bathurst. Dane Bathurst's mom is from the same community and high school that Brent Venables is from. His uncle played at the same high school that Brent Venables is from. Just the connections with the linebacker coach. The linebacker coach's dad was a defensive coordinator at that high school. So there's some family connections, and then certainly the way Oklahoma's playing, the pageantry around the program. I like the way it's trending, but it's not done. So he's having some conversations with other programs. This modern recruiting. We'll see what happens. But I would not be surprised if by the time you're watching this video, Dane Bathurst is also committed to Boomer Sooner.
There's more flip targets on the board, Steve. Who else are the Sooners trending for?
Yeah, another one that I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the fold. We'll see what happens. Jaden Pettit, receiver from Florida, having a fantastic senior season down there in Naples. Oklahoma officialed him in the summer, never gave up on him after he committed to Wisconsin, brought him back for a game this fall. Conversations continue to go well. Can they get it done? He's very close with the Wisconsin staff. We'll see, but wouldn't be surprised if Pettit's in the fold and Dane Bathurst is in the fold by the time you watch this video. Maybe they don't get either of them, but they're in great position for both of these guys down the stretch, and they're just trying to get it to the finish line.
Anything going on in the trenches, Steve?
Well, they got some visitors this weekend that could really help them at the point of attack. That starts with Jonas Muya. He's 6'7", 280 pounds. He's out of Fort Wayne Bishop Lures. It's his first year playing football, former basketball player that Oklahoma beat. He was considering visiting Tennessee or Oklahoma this weekend. He's in Norman right now, and he's looking forward to seeing the staff, how Oklahoma develops their players on and off the field. Well, Oklahoma's got arguably the best offensive line coach in the country, Bill Beatenbaugh. So I think he's going to like that part of the visit. We'll see how he fits in with the players and the people. Another offensive lineman that Oklahoma's really high on, pushing for at the end of the cycle, is Tulane commit Noah Abibi. He's out of Friendswood High in the Lone Star State, former tight end. That is, he's continued to grow. Now plays on the offensive line. He's a plus athlete at the position and someone that Oklahoma would really love to land. Malik Franklin out of Daphne, Alabama. He is a defensive lineman with great traits that's having a fantastic senior year. He played offensive line as a junior. In his senior year, moves over to defensive line, and in 12 games has 98 tackles, 23 stops for loss, 11 sacks, 19 more hurries. Oklahoma general manager Jim Nagy has done a lot of things at Daphne High over the course of his career with the Senior Bowl, stuff like that. So he has great connections in that community, and Oklahoma has a great shot of adding him to the fold here with a great official visit.
As we wait for Thanksgiving, we also wait on a decision from Lane Kiffin. So, Steve, what are recruits saying, especially Ole Miss recruits? I mean, they're a week from signing day. The fans are anxious. They want an answer. Do recruits?
Yeah, Rivals colleague Adam Gorney had a story this week where he talked to some of the Ole Miss commits. Our Ole Miss site, The Spirit, had another story where they talked with a lot of commits. Some are like, I don't know what he's going to do. I hope to talk to him about it soon. Some are like, he's not leaving. Some are like, why would he want to leave? And so they're holding out hope that he stays. And we've seen Coach Kiffin look like he's had a foot out the door before to Auburn, only to stay in Oxford at Ole Miss. And so we'll see what happens with Coach Kiffin this weekend as some of these other programs throw the kitchen sink at him. Ole Miss and their brass showing them the kitchen sink here is pretty damn good as well. So, but these recruits obviously want them to stay because they've also fallen in love with Ole Miss, that community, that program, that campus. But they see themselves thriving within that football program at Ole Miss. And if Lane Kiffin goes to LSU and Florida, it just changes everything about, for some of those kids, maybe it won't change much, but for others, it certainly will. And for this 2026 recruiting class, they're obviously so close to signing their letters of intent. Mm-hmm. And to find out less than a week, because the Egg Bowl's Friday. We might even know Friday morning. I think Pete Nakos, our colleague, reported that things could leak by Friday morning. What he's going to do, it doesn't give him much time to scramble and pivot. But I can tell you right now, there's college football recruiting offices waiting to pounce on these Ole Miss commits in 2026 and 2027 if Coach Kiffin does end up leaving.
So, yeah, I mean, it's so crazy because, one, you got the Ole Miss side of things, right? I mean, if he stays, all good, and there's not a whole lot of movement. But if he leaves, one, you got the vacancy at Ole Miss and how those recruits are going to react to that. But also, if Lane Kiffin's going to another program, he's going to want to address that. He's going to want to get some of his guys in as quickly as he can. Do you expect Lane Kiffin to kind of hit the ground running?
Yeah, for what Coach Kiffin does on the recruiting trail, he is not known as like this dogged,
True.
consistent head coach recruiter. He counts on his front office staff led by Billy Glasscock, and then his coaches lead the charge on the recruiting trail for him. So obviously he's a finisher, a closer in a way of just making people feel comfortable around him. And then also he's able to point to this track record of success specifically on offense. But now the run that he's had at Ole Miss, we haven't seen anything like it for 50 years or so. And so Coach Kiffin's tracking for a statue in Oxford right now, a program that's number 6 in the country, a non-Egg Bowl letdown away of hosting a college football playoff game, maybe even playing for the SEC championship, depending on what happens in other ball games. That would be hilarious if Ole Miss backdoors into the SEC title game, adding another log to this fire. But we won't know what happens with that until Sunday or Saturday with the Alabama game. I don't know all the math. A&M's playing Texas on Friday. That's pivotal to Ole Miss playing in the SEC title game. It would be Alabama versus A&M right now, but Georgia has the tiebreaker over Ole Miss, and those are the other 2 schools that are mathematically alive, I believe. But Lane Kiffin, he's got all the job security in the world at Ole Miss right now. He's built this program into a playoff contender. He's got the support of the fans. They let him be himself there. We'll see if these jobs and thoughts of coaching at the likes of Florida and LSU early in his career are influential to him late in his career. And the Ole Miss commits wait in the meantime.
All right, Steve. So what's your prediction here? What do you think? If you could get in the mind of Lane Kiffin, what do you think he's going to do?
Well, that's the thing. So many people that have worked alongside him or know him in college football talk about how unpredictable he is. So I think it weighs heavy on him, and he goes back and forth. And his processes seem to be out there more than when other coaches go through their processes. So it's kind of like a real recruiting. Like, this team's hot. Now this team's hot. Might be the original team when all said and done. So Coach Kiffin, he is unpredictable in what he does. I wish this Egg Bowl was in Oxford to add to more of the drama, But it's in Starkville, and it's a huge game for Mississippi State because they're 5-6, and they've shown that some terrific growth in Jeff Lebby's program, and they want to win this game so they can get 15 more practices and play in a bowl game. So it's a huge opportunity for them to knock off Ole Miss. And then we'll see what happens with Coach Kiffin. But there's a lot of great coaches out there for all of these programs. And Coach Kiffin's the kind of the domino that gets it going, right? Because once he makes his decision or doesn't, LSU, Florida have to pivot, or Ole Miss has to do something. So it'll be interesting to see who's out there. But you're seeing these salaries being thrown around. Like, whatever these programs are offering Lane Kiffin to get him to stay, just instantly call Kenny Dillingham and give him the same, in my opinion, because he is someone that is an offensive guru, in my opinion. He is an absolute player's coach. He is a terrific head coach recruiter. He is someone that is going to continue or create a fantastic culture within your program. He's going to represent you well. He's coached in the SEC. He's coached in the ACC. He's coached in the Big Ten. He's coached at powerhouse programs. And he is someone that has great instincts for the job. He's going to compete in the transfer portal, and he knows what he's looking for in players that will fit in his culture. So whoever misses on Lane Kiffin, you have the just delete Lane, just take some white out, put it on Lane's name, write Kenny Dillingham on there, and send it to his agent and get it done for what would be a hellacious pivot and someone that would hit the ground running, and someone that I think could maybe even have more prowess on the recruiting trail than Coach Kiffin right away if they went head to head.
Yeah. And, I think anybody that's taken basic Econ 101 can understand why this Lane Kiffin sweepstakes is just ballooning in terms of salary, because there's not a lot of great coaches. And when you got high demand, you got all these programs that have fired coaches and you got no supply, you're going to drive up price. And we're seeing that's what's happening. And also, I think there's a bit of ego involved in this. I mean, if you watch the fan bases on the LSU side, on the Ole Miss side, on the Florida Gator side, these three programs probably aren't the top tier of the SEC, Texas, Georgia, Texas A&M, but they are battling for that. If you got tier 1A, you got 1B right below it with LSU and Florida, and, Ole Miss wants to be there. And I think what's happening is kind of a representation of all this, right? Like UF and LSU feel like in any other year, they should be able to go and steal Ole Miss's coach. Ole Miss feels, hey, we want to prove a point. This is a new era of college football, and Lane Kiffin can now win in Oxford. And Lane Kiffin staying would represent that. So I think that there's a lot of, feelings involved in this coaching search as well, which is kind of ratcheting up all the excitement. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully by the end of this weekend, everybody will know. You guys talk to us. Where do you think Lane Kiffin is going? Is he staying? Is he going? And if he goes, what city will it be to? Let us know.